4BC Weekend Mornings with Kim Mothershaw.
4BC is Brisbane.
And it's 27 to 11 with Kim Mothershaw filling in for Chris Adams. Now, Shane Bowering, I feel like I've worked with Shane any number of times before because I always hear him on 4BC. And the fact is, we've not worked before at all, Shane.
First time, Kim, yeah,
First
absolutely.
time. But I feel as if I know you so well because you're part of the big 4BC
Well,
team.
I've been around for a long time, I suppose, with Greg. And
Yeah, for sure.
And yes, it's been many years.
So the red tape busting business, is it alive and well, and do we need you still?
Well, the way governments and councils are now, mate, and even Telstra and big corporations, I'm gathering that I'm never going to go away because there's always going to be a need for someone to stand up for the battlers. And, regulation and laws, consume our lives and make it difficult, unfortunately, for us to just go about our daily lives.
Now, Shane, we've got a number of things to talk about, and if you've got an issue that you'd like to discuss with Shane, feel free to give us a call, 13 13 32. And Andrew, I believe you've got a question for Shane first up.
I have, Shane. Now, look, let's put it this way. I was coming down down Chermside Road.
Yes.
As you know, you sort of come up the hill up there.
Yep.
Okay, so you accelerate to come up the hill. And, okay, evidently, I knew it was going to come. I started to have a sneezing attack.
Yes.
Now, basically coming up the hill, I've coming down the hill, obviously, instead of hitting the brake, I've sneezed and actually hit the accelerator. Coming down, saw the red, obviously, realised the red light camera, hit the brake, and obviously, it's been...
You've gone through. Yes.
Gone through. Now, some people have said to me there is a provision for that.
Look,
if you actually do sneeze, is that true?
Very difficult, mate. You generally have to have, I would think, somebody to validate, somebody else in the car to say that this is what's happened, produce a statutory declaration, then you'd have to send it off to the police commissioner and see how you went. However, I think you'll still struggle because I had an elderly gentleman who hadn't had a fine for 25 years recently, and I said to him, look, send in a letter to the police commissioner's office and you'll probably get off because, you've been a great driver. Unfortunately, he got rejected. They basically said, no way, you've got to pay up, which I thought was a bit ludicrous. But anyway, that's up to the police commissioner. And the same in this situation. I think they're going to say basically bad luck. But look, you can only ask the question, but you'd have to have proof from somebody else
I was
in
the
the
only
car.
one. I was the only one in the car.
Yeah, no. Essentially, I would think that you'd be whistling Dixie, unfortunately, and you're going to have to pay. But look, I always say to people, if you think you've got a reasonable case, pose the question. You can only ask. It's going to cost you 35 cents or whatever it is. Hold on, 60 cents for a stamp. 35 cents. Gee, that's a long time ago.
And I think stamps have just gone up.
60 cents for a stamp.
Could be 70.
So what would you sort of say in it? Just say basically what happened?
It just happened. You can only say what's happened. You can only be honest. I think you're going to get knocked back. But what it will do, that while you're asking the question, the fine will be on hold at that point in time until they get back to you. So
it's like a force majeure sort of thing, really, in a way.
Yeah, essentially. So look, I think you're not going to get anywhere with it. But look, might be worth the question.
Yeah.
Thanks for your call, Andrew.
No problem. Thank you.
Good on you, mate. Thank you.
I think the other problem that Andrew may have, Shane, is I always thought it was the old trick that you were supposed to try if you got caught for speeding. Oh, officer, I just happened to be sneezing at that time.
And that's it. It's one of the oldest ones in the books. And look, and that's the sad part, because when people do have a legitimate instance like this, they're not going to take any notice. And, I'm pretty sure that won't get through.
All right, 13 13 32, if you've got something you'd like Shane to discuss with Shane. Cecilia, good morning.
Good morning, Shane.
G'day, Cecilia. How are you?
I'm well. I have a question, which is, my neighbour has a Queenslander, but he converted 3. It was 4 units.
Yes.
But he converted 3 into rooms, and he rented out
Yes,
just
yep.
rooms.
Yep, so like a boarding house, essentially.
Yes, and now it's a boarding house.
Yes.
And also he developed underneath, add on 3 bedrooms, bathroom, kitchen. And I know that in the council's record, because I ran the council, and he hasn't submitted a plan.
Well, look, if you've got concerns, then you need to... There's 2 avenues there. One is to complain to council and say to council, look, you believe that it's not approved construction, and get the council to come out and inspect. The other aspect would be the housing issue and the boarding house issue, which I'm pretty sure would be the Minister for Housing would be responsible for that side of it. So I would also be lodging a complaint to them, because there'd be specific requirements there around boarding houses and about accommodation that they would have to comply with, and that would also relate to fire safety and things like that.
Yeah.
So they're the two I'd complain to council and to the minister. However, I would probably try and talk to the owner first and try and keep some good neighbourly relations, because if you go straight to the council, straight to the minister, there's not going to be any good relations with the neighbour, and you've got to live in that location, and share the boundary. So look, I would probably do that first, and then if you don't get any joy, then I'd go to council, and then I'd complain to the minister.
I have already been to the council, and this has started since last year.
I'd be putting it in writing to the council, all right, and writing to the mayor and the CEO, and demand a response.
But now he's put in the application in conjunction with his existing renovation.
Yes.
To be built another 40 boarding houses.
Oh, wow.
And the plan is already been submitted in the council, because I just received a letter from my local council.
Yep. You need to, if other residents in the street have got similar concerns, you need to get them on board as well. And as I said, also go to the minister as well, and make sure that whatever he's doing complies with legislation.
Thanks for your call, Cecilia. We're red tape busting with Shane Bowering, and Maria's on the line.
Good morning.
G'day, how are you?
Fine, and you? I've got a problem. Last year in April, I've paid in full a booking for a wedding chapel.
Yes.
To take place in August.
Yep.
Then something unfortunate happened, and we wouldn't have been able to save up for the rest of the wedding, so we postponed it.
Yes.
To August 2014.
Yep.
Well, things hasn't picked up, and then in December I notified them that, well, we don't know when the wedding, we were still planning the wedding.
Okay, yep, so unsure when it's going to be.
So we're still planning it in August this year, but then I cancelled, so I gave them 8 months notice for the cancellation, in other words.
Yep.
I've paid it in full, which is $1,050. The deposit
so
was
you're after a
$200.
refund?
Yes, and I did read the contract, which said that, upon cancellation, no money refunded. At the time, you don't think that the wedding's going to be cancelled.
But the contract says that no refund will be provided?
Yeah, it's not even a contract that anyone signed. It's just part of the invoice.
Yes, yep.
So I would think that normally you would get the balance back.
So they're not. So essentially what they're saying is that they're not going to give you a refund. That they're standing on their dig, saying that no refund will be given, and you're trying to say, well, hey, you think you deserve a refund. Is that basically the? Yep.
Yes, because they argue that it's administration costs, but there wouldn't have been any administration costs except email correspondence.
What I might get you to do is send me an email off air to admin@redtapebusters.com.au. I'll have a look at the contract or the invoice or whatever. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give any legal advice, but I can pretty much interpret what the situation might be and give you some advice. But if there is a statement saying that they won't give you a refund, I think you're going to struggle. But look, send me something and I'll have a look at it off air.
Okay, Maria, that address is admin@redtapebusters.com.au. Good morning, Mary.
Oh, good morning.
G'day, Mary.
I have a bit of a problem. I'm a legally blind person.
Yes.
And with the bank cards not being able to sign from the 1st of August.
Yep, the PIN, yeah.
It's been, I can't see enough, like many hundreds of thousands of people who can't use it.
Yes.
So I rang my card people, and they said there was nothing they could do. My daughter took me down to the local branch of the bank, and they said there was nothing they can do. Then I rang Vision Australia.
Yes.
And they rang me the next day back from Melbourne to say they'd had a lot of complaints. They'd written to 2 of the big banks, but this is a few weeks ago, and they had only had some reply from the Commonwealth, and one of the other big banks at that stage hadn't answered.
Yep.
And their advice was for my daughter to write a letter to the complaints department of the bank because it's discrimination.
I would also maybe go to the banking ombudsman. I'm probably not a fan of the ombudsmans. I must say I think they're a bit useless, a bit toothless, but I'd write to them and see what they have to say, because this is a really big issue and something that I'd never thought of.
Yeah, I think it's huge.
Yeah.
It's not just me. It's what about people who can't use their hands properly?
Yeah.
People who've had a stroke.
Yep.
They can sign, but they can't use... I'm legally blind, and I really can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, in the meantime, if I can just interrupt you.
Sure.
When the bank card came, my daughter looks after all my affairs, and in the back was a sheet of paper with big red bar, and it says, remember, you can only use your PIN number after the 1st of August. And there was a number if you had any complaints. And
so did you make the complaint to the number?
My daughter did, because she did all that. And they said, they didn't realise the situation people were in. But they said that they were trying to do something where the signature could be retained.
Yeah, let me do a bit of investigation and over the next week.
Would you like me to give Gina the number from the...
Yeah, please, if you could, and I'll follow up.
We don't have a name, it was just a number. And
that's okay.
Said they were trying to do this before August. And, it is discrimination against thousands and thousands of people.
Well, let me see what I can do over the next week, and I'll do a bit of investigation and maybe come back next week.
I'll tell you what, there's a good opportunity for a bank to get onto that and find something. There's a big problem.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
Like, you don't even think of anything. Like, I wouldn't have even thought of something like that as being an issue. And look, that is a major issue that banks are going to have to get their head around.
We're red tape busting with Shane Bowering. It's 11:15 at News Talk 4BC.